What's up, Nerd4Gene here. This video marks the start of a series of videos I'm going to be putting out to try and help you guys clear all of the special dungeons for each day. This first video is just going to be a general video going over each challenge and going over strategies to beat every single challenge. And I'm going to be focusing on Maniac and the special difficulties. Anything lower than that, and I'm pretty sure the mobs change a bit, it gets easier. And I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the last two because they're pretty hard. And they require the most, right? Maniac requires you to have 4 of that element of the day, and then Special requires you to have specific heroes, as well as having all of your heroes have that element for the day. But like I said, this first video is just going to be general tips and strategies for each of these dungeons, regardless of the element. Alright, so let's get right into it. So first, I just want to say that if you have the time, obviously not everybody has the time to try and do this all day long, but if you have the time, don't be afraid to try multiple times, right? Even if your win is conditional, you can still keep going until you finally get it. For example of this is, I don't know, say on the first wave, they focus fire one of your heroes and kill him off on the first round, right? Just retry. You don't lose any tickets for it. There's no penalty, so don't worry about it, okay? Or say you get to the boss battle, right? Last wave, and he just one-shots a character that you needed to clear it. That happens to me all the time, actually. Just feel free to just retry. Don't worry about it. Don't stress it. Alright, so that's the first tip, right? Real simple. Next, pay attention to the Guardian Stones of your heroes, okay? For example, today's Machine Day. So for Machine Day, right, all of the enemies are fire. So don't use any heroes with fire Guardian Stones if you can avoid it. Say it's like a legendary hero and it's required for that specific dungeon, or say it's a fated hero, you know, that can't be helped. So today's Machine Day. Alright, we got Yao here. Say Yao had a fire elemental stone, then I would want to avoid using her. And say I had a duplicate of Yao. This is why you have to pay attention. When you pull duplicates of rares, legendaries, make sure if you're going to just fodder one, right, you're gonna sell it, or you're gonna reroll legendaries for new legendaries, make sure that you pay attention to the Guardian Stones, right? Because a Yao with a fire Guardian Stone is kind of useless on Machine Day, right? Because all the enemies can break her. Just all it takes is one attack, okay? So that's the first thing, especially with rare heroes. Right, it's really easy to get duplicates of rare heroes, so just make sure that you level up and invest into the right one. Alright, next, you have to understand, make sure that you understand how your units gain mana, and how the Guardian Stones of the enemies affect the way that you play. For example, on Fire Day, Fire Elemental heroes gain 1 mana every time somebody crits, okay? And since all of the enemies on Fire Day have Guardian Stone, have Fire Element Guardian Stones, right? Whenever they are broken, they automatically get crit when you attack them, right? So if you if you break them and then attack them, all of your heroes, because if you're doing the special dungeon, you have to have a full fire team. All of your heroes gain 1 mana every time you hit that broken unit, so you can get mana very easily, right? And every element has these effects, so make sure that you pay attention to that and use that in your strategy. All right, I'll go more in depth on that for each day when I do each specific special day, but right now I'm just trying to do general tips, so I'm going to leave it at that. Alright, next is, it takes a lot of resources to build up all of the heroes that you need to enter the special dungeons, right? You need like 12 or more specific heroes to enter all the special dungeons for each day. And the next day the heroes change, so you're gonna have to build up even more heroes. So if you don't have a lot of resources, I suggest that you just focus on a few challenges that you're gonna get done that day and invest in just a few heroes and try to get those done. My suggestions would to be focus on Spirit Sanctum because it's the easiest to clear in my opinion. Also, another good one to focus on is Blessing Sanctum. Sorry, Blessing Sanctum, in my experience, gives the most star fates, at least to me. I've gotten up to 24 just for each clear. So yeah, do that. Also, realize that you don't need every single member in your team built up, right? Usually I'll have 4 members on the team that are level 70 or 75, and then I'll just have one member that I just got to level 45 because it really doesn't take much resources to get them to level 45, and then I just slap some extra spare gear on them just to make sure that they don't die in one hit. Basically, they're just a sponge to try and soak more hits, and maybe they'll even take a hit from the boss, which would be really nice, right? That's all they're there for, really. So yeah, just be careful and make sure to manage your resources. Otherwise, you'll end up pouring all your resources into, like, say it's Earth Day, and you build all of the heroes for Earth Day, and you manage to clear all of the special dungeons, or most of them, but then comes Machine Day, right? Yeah, it's Machine Day afterwards today. Then comes Machine Day, and you don't have any resources, so you can't do any of the special dungeons, right? So just be aware. Alright, that's it for the general tips. Now I'm going to get into tips and strategies to deal with each specific challenge, okay? So first off, we're going to go with the Experience and the Blessing Sanctum. The reason I'm doing these two together is because they are pretty much the same, okay? They have the same type of enemies, the same waves, etc. So your strategy is going to be the same, okay? So the first wave is a wave of 5 enemies. Okay, you'll have 2 enemies in the back that are damage dealers. They usually, I think they're like archers or something like that. And then you're going to have 3 people in front. One of them is a healer, and then 2 more damage dealers, okay? First of all, you're going to leave the healer for last, okay? You don't need to worry about the healer. Even if he heals, it's not that much. You do want to break him from time to time to make sure he's just not spamming heal, because that'll slow you down. But you can pretty much ignore them, okay? Next is you're gonna want some AoE. For every single element, there is a rare character that will have a 0 mana cost AoE. For example, for Frost Day, it is, or Ice, Wheeler. Alright, for Earth, it is Eden. Okay? So use these characters. These characters will be pivotal when you're trying to clear the special dungeons. I'm speaking to my free-to-play players that don't just have, you know, somebody to solo them for you. They'll be really pivotal because it means they can AoE every single turn and help you break faster and more consistently, okay? So you're going to use that person to AoE and then you single target to break as many people at once as you can. Obviously, you want to keep enemies broken as often as possible, but it's impossible to keep them all broken all the time, and if you concentrate too hard on just keeping them broken, you'll end up doing no damage to them, right? You'll be like, oh, I gotta break this guy, and then he's broken, but then this guy became unbroken, so you have to break that guy. And you'll break them, but you won't be hitting them when they're broken, so you don't do the extra damage, there's no point. So anyway, what you want to be doing is trying to balance breaking with doing damage, right? And once again, you leave the healer for last, and usually you use the healer, right, to gain mana. Say you used all the mana for all of your DPS, or most of them. Say they have, like, you have 3 mana on this DPS, 3 mana on that DPS. You save the healer for last, and because the healer, even if he gets a turn, he'll just heal. If he's taking any damage, he'll just heal, so you don't have to worry about taking damage then. And you just auto attack. Don't use any abilities, just auto attack the healer and gain as many mana points as you can before moving on to the next wave, okay? Now, wave 2. Wave 2 is going to be 2 damage dealers and a healer. Okay, and obviously it's only 3 enemies instead of 5, so it's going to be a lot easier. Okay, and basically you're going to do the same strategy as wave 1, except for because there's only 3 enemies, it's going to be a lot easier. So your goal here is to just clear it. You're going to be able to clear it, right? Unless you had a terrible wave 1, in which case you should be retrying already anyway. But wave 2, you'll be able to clear, so it's about clearing with taking little to no damage, and once again, making sure that you have as much mana as possible moving into wave 3, okay? Now, wave 3. Wave 3 is going to be the boss with 2 adds, okay? And the add on the left is going to be a damage dealer, and the add on the right is going to be a healer. Alright, this healer, unfortunately, heals a lot more than the other healers. He heals, I think, around like 10k each turn, so he's not someone you can just ignore. But, again, he might not be your priority. I don't prioritize him, okay? Hopefully, your AoE person is still alive, right? So you use him to AoE, you'll break 1 stone on each of the 2 adds and 1 stone on the boss. And if you have multiple AoEs, this will be easy. To be able to break the adds and the boss at the same time before they get turns, okay? Or too many turns, I should say, because they are fast and they will get a turn usually. But what I usually do is I will kill the DPS ad first, then I will go for the healing ad, and then I'll go for the boss, okay? But important thing to note is that the boss will automatically, every time he attacks, he automatically breaks a stone. Now, a key thing is he automatically breaks a stone, he doesn't automatically break a character. Right now, we don't have much faded gear, so he automatically breaks characters. But say, for example, you're doing a dungeon and one of your characters has a faded piece of gear, so he has 2 stones, the boss will only break 1, not 2. Alright, so just make note. But right now, like I said, we don't have much faded gear, so most likely he's going to break one of your characters. Okay, so it's important that you break him or CC him while you're killing the adds. Okay, an important thing to note with bosses on the challenge dungeons is that they are susceptible to CC. For example, if you're looking at my team right now, I have this guy right here in the front. I forget his name. It's like Bervanatus or something like that. He can shock, right? So usually what I do is if I can't break the boss before he's going to get a turn and break another one of my characters, I use his skill 2 and I shock him so the boss doesn't get a turn. Okay? And on Fire Day, I use Pitbull. He has another CC. Alright, so just be aware that CC does work on the boss and can be used instead of breaking his Guardian Stones at first to CC him while you take down the adds. Okay, so that's about all I have right now for Experience and Blessing Sanctum. If you have any more specific questions about it, let me know in the comments below. Alright, moving on to Spirit Sanctum. Spirit Sanctum, in my opinion, is the easiest challenge for you to complete. Alright, just like all the other just like most of the other challenges, it goes by the 5-3-3 enemy waves, right? So 5 enemies in the first wave, 3 in the second, and then 3 in the third, with the boss being in the middle. However, Spirit Sanctum, all the enemies are spirits, and spirits have no abilities, okay? They just auto attack. That's all they do, which is why this is the easiest challenge, in my opinion, for you to complete. That being said, I don't really have much of a strategy since it's the easiest. Everything I just told you about Experience and Blessing applies to this one, except for all of the enemies don't have abilities. So it should be a lot easier to clear, alright? Just make sure that you try to break as much as possible and balance damage with break, and make sure that you are accumulating mana to make each consecutive wave easier to clear. Okay? Alright, next up we have the gold mines. Alright, gold mines, just like most of the other challenges, have the same 5-3-3 format when it comes to enemy waves, right? 5 enemies, then 3, with a boss. However, one key difference with the gold mines is that these enemies are very slow. Their attack speed is slow, so your whole team should be able to take a turn before they take a turn. This makes it really easy to break them before they take a turn and try and get rid of them before you take too much damage, okay? These enemies hit really hard, right? They're slower, but they do hit really hard every turn that they get to attack. So the name of the game is to break them, more so than the others, right? Obviously, in every single challenge, you should try to break them as much as possible. But in this one, you really do have to make sure that at most 2 enemies get to take a turn in the same round, okay? That's it, no more. Again, those AoE characters will really come into play for Machine Day like it is today. It'd be Colin, Earth Day, Eden. They'll make things a lot easier. Also, if you can have a character that hits the back row, not a full AoE, also obviously a full AoE would be nice too, but I've noticed that there's a lot of characters in each day that you can use in the gold mine that hit the back row. For example, for Fire Day, it would be Pitbull. So for Fire Day, I actually just use Maggie. But if you don't have Maggie, like Carlos, right? He's the one with the 0 mana. Actually, Carlos has a 0 mana AoE and it puts a dot on, so he can break everybody all by himself, okay? But anyway, so for the first 2 waves, right, it's all, once again, all about breaking while dealing damage, finding that balance. And then for the third wave is a bit different, right? Because this boss will put up a shield, a reflector shield. Now, when this shield is up, every time you attack him and he deals damage back, he will break you, okay? So there are 2 ways to deal with this. One is to break the boss and kill him while he's broken before he puts the shield up. 2 is to let him put the shield up. Preferably you want to break 2 of his stones before he puts the shield up, at least, okay? Let him put the shield up. You hit him with one character. You choose this character because they're going to get broken, right? So make it one of your weaker characters. And you break him, and then you focus the adds, right? You don't hit him while the shield is up, right? He's broken, so he's not going to be attacking you. And then while his shield is up, you just attack the adds, so you don't just end up breaking your whole team and dying. Alright, so once again, for the final boss, either break him, nuke him down before he puts the shield up, or focus the adds while his shield is up and make sure that he's broken so he's not basically killing you while his shield is up and you can't hit him. Alright, next we have the solar and the lunar trade routes. Once again, just like the blessing and the experience Sanctum, these 2 challenges have the same format and the same the same enemies in them, okay? Now, the biggest thing to note about solar and lunar trade route enemies is that almost every single one of them has either counter or thrust. Alright, so the first wave, once again, 5 enemies. There's going to be 2 enemies in the back. Each one of them have counter, 3 enemies in the front. Okay, 2 of the enemies on the side are the damage dealers, and they have thrust. And then the enemy in the middle does not have thrust, but he has provoke. Okay, and provoke means... I'm sorry, it's not called provoke. It's called protect, I think. But it means that whenever one of his allies gets below 30% HP, he will provoke your entire team. So you got to watch out for that, and make sure that you don't end up getting your whole team provoking and not be able to do damage to the DPS. Okay. Now, my general strategy for the first wave is to use my heroes that have counter or thrust to counter their heroes that have counter or thrust. For example, my Rudley attacks one of the people in the back that has counter, okay? So I hit him, he counters me, then my Rudley counters back, he's broken. Okay? I also use frontliners, especially on a day where I get to have healers. I use healers to attack either someone who has counter or thrust, because they automatically get attacked back, giving them mana so they can heal easier. Okay, so you want to bait out the thrust and the counters strategically on the characters that you want to get attacked back, and then after you've baited out the thrust and the counters, then you use AoEs to break them. Okay, if you use AoE off the bat, your AoE character is going to get countered and thrusted to death by, in one wave. So you got to make sure that you bait these out before you do it. Okay, and you're going to leave the guy with provoke, or the tank, in the middle for last. Okay, you want to break him so he can't use his provoke. All right, you want to break him so he can't use his provoke, but then focus the other characters. Focus the DPS first and get them down. And I'm not sure, unfortunately, I haven't counted yet, but these passives, such as counter and thrust, have a cooldown of like 3 or 4 turns or something like that. Okay, so after you bait out the counters or the thrusts, you still have a few turns to AoE and not get, screwed. So that's it for wave 1. Wave 2 is the same thing. Usually for wave 2, again in wave 1, I saved up mana. I made sure that I had enough mana. So usually wave 2, if I have a strong DPS, I use them to one-shot one of the characters, right? So wave 2 is going to be a tank in the middle and then 2 DPS on the sides. Once again, these DPS on the sides are going to have counter. Okay, so I either one-shot one of them if I can, and then use a counter hero to attack the other DPS on the other side. Once again, I hit him, he counters me, I counter back, automatically broken. Right? Either do that, or if I have 2 counter/thrust heroes, then I'll do that to each of the DPS on the side, because usually these DPS hit pretty hard. Okay? So wave 2 should be pretty easy, honestly. Just do what I said for the DPS. Break the guy in the middle so he can't provoke your entire team. Focus the DPS down first. Take your time focusing down the tank last, and getting mana for the third wave. Alright, now we got the third wave. Third wave is a boss with 2 adds. 2 DPS adds. Important thing to note is both the adds have counter, once again, and the boss has thrust, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's thrust, not counter. Okay, and when he thrusts, when he counters you back, he will break you. Okay, so usually what I do here is I usually have one character AoE, and they're basically the sacrificial lamb. They'll get countered by everybody and possibly die, but that's okay because he broke 1 stone from each of them. Okay, and then once again, you kind of have to choose your strategy. It depends on how many heroes you have, do you have enough DPS, etc. But usually I break the adds and break the boss, or if I can't break the boss in time, once again, if I have a CC, use the CC to CC the boss until I can break him. But anyway, kill the adds, then kill the boss. Every once in a while there'll be a situation where I leave one of the adds up and kill the boss before I kill the adds, but again, you have to look at the situation. But once again, general strategy, have an AoEer, one person bait out all of these, all of the counter/thrusts. If you don't have that, maybe your AoE person already died or something like that, once again, you can use counter heroes to break the adds in one attack, right? Broadly attacks, the add counters, I counter back, broken. Just make sure that the first person who hits the boss is someone that you're okay with getting broken, okay? So that's about it for the solar and lunar trade routes. Alright, next we have Avarice, Shelter of Avarice. Unfortunately, there's no strategy for Shelter of Avarice, right? It's just a boss fight, and it's automatically auto, you can't manual it. There's really nothing to do. Honestly, Avarice is just a gear check / hero check, right? Obviously, any day where you have a Dragon Knight hero in your team, automatic clear. The boss just kills himself on Wrath, and it's over. But honestly, any day where you can't use Dragon Knight, it's pretty hard to clear Avarice right now. Like I said, it's just a gear slash hero check, nothing more. So there's no strategy. Got nothing to tell you. Alright, as you can see, we have changed screens here. We've come to the Holy Dragon Grounds, and that's because I want to give you more of a visual for this one. I personally only ever use 4-man teams for the Holy Dragon Grounds. It's just simple, easy. I always get to the second life bar, so I get 100 relics, 100-ish relics each attempt. So my strategy is always a Dragon Knight. So for me, it's Anastasia because she's my strongest Dragon Knight. 2, a healer. 3, a strong DPS. And then 4, elemental hero of the day. So Anastasia is the Dragon Knight. Talia is my healer. Rudley is my strong DPS. And then Baraka is the hero of the day for the element. Right? If you don't have, for example, if you don't have Talia, you can use Kaya. Kaya, honestly, just as strong for this. I'm actually going to do a video on Kaya later because I think she's really strong. But just to show that you don't need a lot of fated heroes, you don't need to be pay to win, although I'm not pay to win. But you know, you might not have the heroes that I have. For a more like free to play comp here, honestly, like I said, you need a Dragon Knight. So I'm just going to leave Anastasia in, but say I didn't have Redley. A strong, free-to-play DPS, Adams would work. Alright, say Adams was level 75 and I built him properly, Adams could take the place of Redley. Okay, so once again, it is a Dragon Knight hero, a healer, a strong DPS, my strongest DPS there is, and then a DPS elemental hero of the day. Okay, it doesn't have to be a DPS, but I just like having it be a DPS. And that's it for Holy Dragon Grounds. Alright, so that's it for this video. Like I said in the beginning, I'm going to be doing an entire series. I'm going to go over each specific day for the special dungeons. But that's probably going to take me a bit of time because I don't even have all the heroes that I need to enter all the special dungeons. Right now, mostly Fire Day and Earth Day are probably going to be the first 2 that I do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope it was helpful. I want to help people clear these special dungeons so they can get these Star Fates, so they can start getting their fated gear. That's about it. I'm out. Peace.